After 20 years, thousands of American lives lost, tens of thousands wounded, and billions of dollars spent, the United States is withdrawing from Afghanistan, ending our nation's longest war. CENTCOM today says we are already about 90% out of the country. This is one of the trickiest catch-22 decisions this country has ever had to make. By leaving, we will essentially hand over power to the Taliban, an Islamic militant group that gave safe harbor to 9/11 terrorists, Al-Qaeda. A group we've been fighting for years now. The Taliban wants to impose Islamic rule all over that country and all the nasty things that go with it. Afghanistan will likely once again become a safe harbor for terror. The problem is, there never will be a good time to do this. No matter when we pull out of that country, all the things that are about to happen are going to happen. So now is as good of a time as any. After 20 long years wasting American lives and treasure on a war that'll never truly be won. That being said, how we pull out is still important, and here is how the president promised it would go down back in April.
We'll not conduct a hasty rush to the exit. We'll do it responsibly, deliberately, and safely. And we will do it in full coordination with our allies and partners, who now have more forces in Afghanistan than we do.
So that was the expectation. Here is the reality. From the Associated Press, U.S. left Afghan airfield at night, didn't tell new commander. The new Afghan commander of Bagram Airfield, the epicenter of our war effort in the country, didn't even know we were gone until 2 hours after we left. Right now, we're not sure why that happened. Jen Psaki earlier today had this to say.
Is that a sign of a lack of trust in Afghan leaders that they wouldn't give them a heads up on their departure?
I would point you to the Department of Defense on that and the specific accuracy of those comments.
So as usual, Biden really can't answer the hard questions about this debacle in Afghanistan. Here he was on Friday.
Thought on Afghanistan.
I want to talk about happy things, man. I'm not going to answer any more questions on Afghanistan. Look, it's 4th of July. I'll answer all your negative questions, not negative, your legitimate questions.
Again, imagine him handling Trump's media. Can you even fathom how he would react to that kind of treatment? Despite the fact that this withdrawal is messy, leaving Afghanistan is still the right thing to do. We never should have turned the mission to capture and kill terrorists after 9/11 into nation building. We should have left 19 years ago. In his memoir, George W. Bush, who turned 75 years old today, by the way, happy birthday, wrote this: "We had liberated the country from a primitive dictatorship, and we had a moral obligation to leave behind something better." At the end of the day, that's a wrong decision. A weak, phony, unwanted democracy was propped up by our military for 2 decades in the country. Democracy has to be fought for by people who desperately want it. In Afghanistan, it was not wanted. The country is essentially a bunch of tribes with many different goals. Democracy is not one of them. President Obama campaigned on leaving the Middle East, but when the time came, he didn't have the guts to do it. He didn't want to face this reality that we're all about to face. From the New York Times, in reversal, Obama says U.S. soldiers will stay in Afghanistan until 2017, when Trump would be in office. President Trump did not do this either. Although, to be fair, it is a very scary first-term move to make when you know you have to be reelected. You could probably assume Trump would have made this happen in his second term based on statements like this.
I share the American people's frustration. I also share their frustration over a foreign policy that has spent too much time, energy, money, and most importantly, lives, trying to rebuild countries in our own image instead of pursuing our security interests above all other considerations.
There are many parallels between Afghanistan and Vietnam. In 2019, the Washington Post obtained a confidential trove of documents revealing senior U.S. officials failed to tell the truth about the war, hiding evidence that the war had become unwinnable. Officials in charge knew we were not in a position to win, but they didn't want to be the one to pull the plug, take responsibility for the mess that would ensue when the Taliban inevitably made a resurgence, which, of course, is what we're seeing right now. From an article today, a Taliban commander said the group had taken 70 sniper rifles, 900 guns, and 65 vehicles, including Humvees. The Taliban ransacking the country as we speak. There are reports of Afghan security forces who no longer have American troops to protect them, fleeing to surrounding countries fearing retaliation for all the time that they worked with the United States. It's an awful situation. It's very awful for the people of Afghanistan caught in the middle of all this and the sheer misfortune of being born in a backwards place that's centuries behind the rest of the world. But let this be a lesson to the war hawks and the neocons. 2 decades in this hellhole, young Americans fighting in this war, many that were born after 9/11 fighting in this war. Think about that. Some children growing up to fight in the same war that their parents fought in. How crazy is that? A total of 2,312 U.S. military personnel in Afghanistan have died and 20,066 have been wounded since 2001. And the former president of Afghanistan, the absolute pillar of democracy in that country, handpicked, installed by the United States government, saying this.
Well, the United States came in the name of fighting terrorism to Afghanistan 20 years ago. Did they fight it successfully? Did they fight it honestly? No. Therefore, the United States returning to Afghanistan in the name of fighting extremism, I, as an Afghan, would not welcome that.
He might find himself in trouble being in that country himself. Good riddance to him, Hamid Karzai. And that is our take on this very complicated situation.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.